Hi everyone, I'm Mike Ford, the founder of SiteMinder, bringing you a wrap of the World Hotel Index from a special, very beautiful location on the New South Wales south coast, just 2 hours south of Sydney in Gerringong, where these types of getaways have, in the domestic sense, have readily replaced international holidays that people are taking, and we're still seeing a lot of the domestic travel in our data, which we'll go through shortly. We're also seeing, which we've released in our hotel channels update for the year, in terms of which hotel channels are producing the most online bookings, and we've seen a shift within the channel mix to domestic channels becoming stronger in some countries, further reflecting the fact that COVID has directed people to continue traveling domestically, and looks like that trend will continue through 2021. Before we look at the World Hotel Index data, I want to bring your attention to some changes that we've made on the World Hotel Index. It's been a year since we've been in the COVID affected booking cycle. So what we've done is created an extra filter for to look back 2 years, which compares the current booking trends to 2019, which is probably a more fair comparison for pre-COVID levels. So we have now the ability to compare year-over-year booking levels from last March to this March, for example, but we also have the capability for you to have a look back 2 years before COVID impacted booking levels. So hopefully this new filter will help you continue to track the impacts of COVID. Looking at our data, we can tell just how important domestic has actually become, particularly in those countries that traditionally depended on international business. So places like Thailand, where Chinese, Malaysian, Korean visitors were extremely sort of important in terms of the mix into that country. We can see in March of 19, for example, in Thailand, less than 30% of bookings processed were actually domestic. But you fast forward and you contrast that to now, where over 86% of bookings so far this month have actually been domestic. So that's from 30% to 86%, and similar story playing out in Vietnam. However, while much of the world still remains in a lockdown state and travel is hampered, particularly in an international context, there's a lot of reason to be optimistic that later in this year, or 2022, we'll see a return to international making up a bigger part of the domestic international travel mix. And so we are seeing, for example, the 7-day average of new coronavirus cases is now at its lowest point since October 20, and it's 50% off the highs of January 21. So a dramatic fall in the average new cases over a 7-day period. And that's a reason for us to hope and think that this trend will continue, and that will result in people getting back on international flights and taking international trips. This fall in average new cases not only gives us hope that international mix will return, but it also seems to be resulting in traveller confidence returning in a domestic context. So what we're starting to see now is travellers gaining the confidence to book further out. So, for example, in Germany, we're starting to see, even though there have been lockdowns extended into March, we're starting to see bookings now for Oktoberfest. So that sort of longer lead time booking is starting to pick up. Similarly, in Indonesia, we're starting to see bookings occurring for Ramadan. And so I think there's a certain part of that is the promise of vaccines, but also the trending downwards of new coronavirus cases bringing confidence back. So both in an international sense, still to be seen, but definitely starting to be seen in the domestic sense. Another example of this is Ireland, where despite lockdown still being in place and continuing through March, we are seeing that a large proportion, 60% of bookings, are being made in the last 2 weeks for periods further ahead. So for the summer months being June, July, and August. So people in Ireland are booking far in advance, hoping for that summer holiday, getting confidence that they will be able to actually have that summer holiday. and so 60% of bookings occurring in the last 2 weeks are for that period. So that's definitely a shift, a positive shift that we're seeing in that market. As far as the World Hotel Index goes, we're eagerly waiting to see how the rollout of vaccines impacts our data, impacts our international domestic travel mix, as well as the booking lead times and the level of bookings. So we're continuing to watch that here. On the World Hotel Index, we'll be reporting as the vaccine rolls out, how that's starting to affect booking trends. So please stay posted. Please have a look around the index and stay safe. Thanks.